what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Master Wing. We have another physical edition of the game of Wingspan for you. We are selecting our starting hand. Our end of round goals are food cost of played birds, eggs in the grassland, birds in the forest, and cards in hand. My opponent goes first, and she grabs the rose ring parakeet, and I proceed to play the laughing kookaburra. It's one of my favorite birds in the entire game. It lets you reset the bird feeder, and if you do, you gain one worm, fish, or rat if there is one. Then she comes back and plays the black stork, which obviously is a teal power. It lets you lay one egg on each of the birds immediately to the left and right of this bird. So the purpose of this video is to showcase some of the Oceania and Asia birds that we don't often see. We are pressing pause, obviously, on the digital version for a little bit, but this is one of the last games we played. We've actually played several, and our last game was a full tuck, and we ended up tucking all the birds I wanted to showcase. So we're going to at least try to show you a few different cards this time. Let's see. We reset the tray. We've got the rook and the blue rock thrush. So you can see just reading some of these powers, we're just not as familiar with some of these birds, and we like learning the new powers. Since I have the kookaburra in the wetlands already, I'm thinking at this point to grab those two, the rook and the blue rock thrush. So we'll see if she grabs those. It looks like she's going to grab food first. But I do want to play those eventually. And I'm hoping this kookaburra comes through. For goals, we have food cost of played birds, eggs in the grassland, birds in the forest, and cards in hand. And like I said, this game, it looks like every bird we flip over is one we're not really used to. So we will try to show you some of their powers. And when the digital version gets closer to releasing the Oceania and Asia expansions, maybe you guys can save this and just refresh yourselves with some of these powers. Second bird I play is the desert wheat ear. Desert wheat ear, I guess that's how you pronounce it. And it lets you grab food in the grassland. It's brown power. For each bird in your grassland with an egg on it, roll any one food die and choose one type of food you rolled and gain one of that food from the supply. So if you have one bird in the grassland, you only get to grab one food, you only get one choice of food. But if you had, let's just say, 4 birds in the grassland, you roll 4 die and you get to choose one type of food from those 4. So it's a little tricky if you read it incorrectly or just assume. You might think, oh, the more birds I get in the grassland, the more food I get. But that's not the case with the wheat ear. The more birds you have in the grassland, it just gives you more choice or more chance to select one type of food. Second bird I play is the third bird I play is the rook, and its brown power. Cache one food from your supply on this bird or tuck one from your hand behind this bird. If you do either of those things, you get to tuck one from the deck behind this bird. So I thought that was a good start for my my grassland, because I could technically tuck 2 underneath the rook. And we are getting a little ahead of my commentary here. There's so many new things to go over. My opponent earlier played the New Holland Honey Eater. I do want to mention that one just because it allows you to get nectar from the bird feeder if there is one available. And then I also extend my grassland out with the blue rock thrush. That's one of those birds that wasn't really necessary for my engine, but I just wanted to try it out. We forgot that bird even existed. It said if this bird has no birds to the right of it, you may move it to the player mat to the player of your left. And you get to choose the habitat, and then I get to draw 3 cards after I do that. So I'm basically giving her a bird on her board, and I get to draw 3 cards. So that's one of those powers I'm going to have to think and continue to practice with. I think I played it just because I wanted to try it. And here we are with the rook. I thought it went well with the rook because I'd probably have some extra cards. And I had some trouble deciding where to put the blue rock thrush, if this was going to be a card that gets really passed back and forth, or it's going to be a one and done type play. Also forgot to mention my opponent played the Ibis Bill, which is a white power, and that says all players draw one card from the deck and gain one worm from the supply. You get to draw an additional card from the deck if you were the one that played it. So, pretty friendly bird power there that's worth 8 points. And she did win the end of round goal for round 1 for food cost of played birds. She has 4 birds on her board, but we gave her the blue rock thrush. I'm hoping maybe she passes it back to me at some point. And I see the gala in the tray, and we go ahead and draw cards there. And the kookaburra, in my experience, hardly ever fails. It's a very high chance to get a rat, a worm, or a fish on a reroll. And the gala, which we would like to play at some point in this game, it says choose one other player. They reset the bird feeder and gain a seed, if there is one. And then you get to tuck 2 cards from the deck behind this bird regardless. So every time I activate that brown power, I'm looking at 2 more points. So we lucked out getting the gala on that turn for round 2. And you can't see it on the video, but I've got 5 or 6 cards in my hand. I do think on this Oceania board it's easier to draw cards. Oh, I have more than 6 cards, it looks like. I play the Black Drongo, and its brown power says discard any number of cards from the tray, then refill it. If at least one of the discarded birds is a grassland bird, you get to lay 1 egg on that bird. So you do a little tray manipulation, but essentially you just get to lay 1 egg on the drongo. And then she plays another teal power that we haven't seen in a while, called the Black-naped Oriole. And its round-in power says if you used all 4 actions this round, gain 1 food from the supply, lay 1 egg on any bird, and draw 1 card from the deck. So it's kind of like Moltoni's Warbler, just powered up. And we are finally going to lay eggs and try to go through this engine a little bit. We do end up getting, what was that, a nectar? And I think we got to tuck 2 underneath the rook. Question for the video: what is a bird from the Oceania or Asia expansion that you really like to play? I mentioned earlier that I like the Laughing Kookaburra. It's just a personal favorite of mine. But I'm interested to know. Let me know in the comments. I read those every time. And again, since a lot of these birds aren't seen as much on YouTube, since they haven't reached digital version, I want to know what's your favorite Asia and Oceanic bird. Right, it looks like we finally get the gala down with the help of some nectar. So now we've got a 3, 5, 6, possible 8-point engine if we can take advantage of our rook Drongo, and Gala. And if we discard an extra card or a food on my board on the right side, you would have a 9-point engine. No real reason to do anything different at this point. We're going to go through our grassland one more time. She did give us back the blue rock thrush, but there's nothing in the tray I particularly want at this point. I also learned from the previous games on this Oceania board that it's not necessarily the best to get 5 birds down in your grassland as soon as you can. Because as you can see, it doesn't let you lay 5 eggs like the original board game does. It still only lets you lay 4 eggs because of the board design. Right, the Eurasian Kestrel is in the tray. She plays a predator, the black-shouldered kite, and that says reset the bird feeder and gain 1 rat if there is one. You may give it to another player. If you do, lay up to 3 eggs on this bird. So that's a very unique bird, predator power. And we are at the end of round 2. This is the last turn. And so I'm thinking I'm going to win this end of round with 6 eggs. And she's going to discard an extra card for 3. And then she does this black-shouldered kite, which I didn't really realize at the time. And she gets a rat. And it's probably the play of the game where she gets 3 eggs on that 1 activation and ties the end of round at the last second there. So that was a pretty cool play on her part. We're about halfway through the game. We are settling some teal powers. I forgot to mention, I played the Brambling. And it's nothing crazy, but its round-end power lets you draw 2 cards from the deck and add them to your hand. Then tuck up to 2 cards from your hand behind this bird. So I draw 2 cards, but I think I don't end up tucking them because I like the 2 cards that I drew. So my opponent gets to start round 3, and we both have a decent amount of cards in our hand. She plays the blue-winged warbler, classic bird bomb for 7 points. We are going to lay eggs in hopes to get some more food in our hand to play some of these birds. I've got, at this point, 6 or 7 cards. I have the bald eagle. I have the great Indian bustard, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But we don't have great food generation. We've got the laughing kookaburra and the desert wheat ear, but that's only 1 food at a time. So since we have 4 birds in our grassland, we get to roll 4 die. Did not get a nectar, but we did get a fish. She grabs, 3 nectar on her turn. And with my current food supply, I'm thinking I play the bald eagle. I hesitate a little bit because I locked the blue rock thrush in. So that bird was pretty much useless. I just wanted to try it out. But I did score 8 points with the bald eagle, and I was able to grab a fish. So still happy about that turn. I also have, and you can't see it on the camera, the North Island brown kiwi I'm looking at. And I have the kakapo, which has a game end power. And due to my food supply, we are going to go ahead and take the gain food action. Even though I like my engine, it's just taken a little longer to get the necessary food I need. Now she plays another white power, the red-crowned crane. And that says score one of your bonus cards now by cashing one food from the supply on this bird for each point, and then discard that bonus card and draw a new one. So she cashes 3 fish. I guess her bonus card was worth 3 points at that point, and now she has a new bonus card. Alright, so using our nectar that we got the last turn, we finally play the Kakapo, and the Kakapo has a yellow power. It says draw 4 bonus cards, keep 1, and discard the other 3. Pretty straightforward there. It just gives me more options for bonus cards, and it was a ground nest. I don't know if I've mentioned it in this video yet, but my bonus card is Enclosure Builder. So I only have 2 ground nests right now. I believe it's the wheat ear, the desert wheat ear, and the Kakapo. So I'm hoping to at least get 4 birds and qualify for that. I told you I have the kiwi in the back and the great Indian bustard. So that should be 4 ground nest birds. Oh, I didn't mention earlier, a long time ago, my opponent plays Peaceful Dove, and that brown power lets you discard any number of seeds, lay 1 egg on this bird for each discarded seed. So I forgot to mention the Peaceful Dove, but that's a good card for her. I think with my Gala, it lets the opposing player get a seed from the bird feeder, so if she has extra seeds, she's going to be able to use those for the Peaceful Dove. Now here I play the Island Kiwi, and it was a ground nest. It let me have 3 birds in the forest, so I was thinking it was a good play for the end around goal, but I'm just now realizing in the video of the description, the first part of that power is discard a bonus card. If you do, draw 4 bonus cards, keep 2, and discard the other 2. So I just talked about my ground nest and trying to complete that and using the Great Indian Bustard. And so I really messed that white power up, and the kiwi is turning into my nemesis. I'm sure you saw the other video where I make a big blooper on the kiwi. So that kiwi did not have maximum output there. We tied the end around goal for 5 points, and we got another ground nest, but I didn't take advantage of its power because I didn't want to discard that bonus card. So moral to the story is just read the cards better. We have the emu in the tray, the red knot, and the blue jay. Nothing that I want to see. I am running a little bit lower on cards. I think at this point I did regret not using that blue rock thrush one more time for 3 extra cards. I have an extra card to tuck under the rook, and if I tuck a card from my hand, you get to tuck one from the deck, right? So I'm taking advantage of the rook this turn, but I think I run out of extra cards later. And we are at our last round. She's got a ton of seeds to discard for this Peaceful Dove. And I'm sure she's trying to get her black-shouldered kite to lay 3 eggs at a time. Just by the video, it looks like I only have 2 cards remaining for the last 4 turns here. And I don't see a reason to switch tactics at this point. We're going to run through our grassland that we've built. We're going to save the Indian Bustard for last. But I only have a worm right now, so I'm really hoping this wheat ear can give me a nectar or a seed. Yeah, that bustard is the last card I have. And we did get a nectar there, so that was helpful. And she plays a bird that I really like, the rose-ringed parakeet. And it is a white power, pretty cheap bird to play. But the rose-ringed parrot lets you copy a when-played ability on one of your neighbor's birds. And so I think she copies my North Island brown kiwi. Copies that white power, and I think later, oh yeah, she chose bonus cards. She said later that turned into a 6-point play, so she drew well off of that parakeet. And we've got 3 turns left, including this one. We went through our engine again. We did get a nectar, so we are going to be able to play this buzzard. And with her gaining food and 2 turns left, I'm assuming she's going to play one more bird maybe and lay eggs. Here's the Great Indian Buster. There's been some talk if this is a overpowered card or not. I don't think so, at least not yet, but it could be a huge bird bomb. It says, when played, score one of your bonus cards now by cashing 1 seed from the supply on this bird for each point. Also score it normally at the game end. So you don't get rid of your bonus card, you just score it now. So I could see having like a rodentologist 8 points and then cashing 8 seeds on the bustard for a really big uptick in your score. But we only had 4 because remember we only have enclosure builder. And obviously she's laying eggs right now. Really just going through her engine. That peaceful dove is laying some extra eggs for her. And the black-shouldered kite, she's looking for a rat and does not get one. And she continues to grab this nectar. I think we're winning the nectar battle in the forest. And we're tied in the grassland at this point, and I think she's winning the wetlands nectar battle. Should be a pretty high-scoring game. It should be triple digits. Of course, the nectar gives you anywhere from, 6 points on the low end if you qualify, and 15 points added to your score if you win every time. So that definitely increases the scores a little bit. And we are wrapping up some teal powers. She does end up playing the Abbott's Booby. Another bonus card bird. Draw 3 bonus cards, then discard 2. You may discard bonus cards you did not draw on this turn. So another Oceania bird, and I'm pretty sure with her rose-ringed parakeet and her Abbott bird, Abbott's Booby, I think, and then her original bonus card, she does really well on her bonus cards. The thing we have going for us is this Gala and this Rook with those tucks. She flips over her cards. She has Endangered Species Protector, which references bonus card bird. She has Zoologist and Forest Data Analyst. And of course, I have Enclosure Builder. So we're just tallying up our scores here and finishing up our end of round goals. And now I finally get to do my Kakapo, the yellow game end power, where I get to draw 4 bonus cards. And I only get to keep 1, but it just gives me options. So I'm really hoping this Kakapo comes through. And the one that sticks out that I just laid down on the video is the Large Bird Specialist. It requires birds larger than 65 centimeters, and I have 6 of those. So that maxed out that bonus card, and so the Kakapo gave me an extra 6 points. So I'm happy with that. All right, we finally tallied up the scores, did a little time skip there, just a brief recap. The bird points, I had 37, she had 41. Bonus points, I had 10, she had 15 bonus points. End of round goals, she beat me 16-13. Eggs, I won barely, 19-17. Food on cards, I had 4, she had 3. We tied the nectar battle, and the difference maker, I think, was the tucks. She had 0 tucks, and I had 24 between the rook and the gala. So I end up winning that game 119-102. 119-102. It was really fun to again see those new birds. Thank you for sticking with me. I think the MVP was probably either the gala, since I got a steady 2 points every time, or the desert wheat ear. Early on, it kind of sustained me with my food generation, and it let me play more birds. It wasn't a fancy power, but I'm going to give it to the desert wheat ear, and the honorable mention would be the gala. Thanks for watching again, and don't forget to like or subscribe. See you next time on Master Wing.